everybody, and welcome back to the Praying Parents Podcast. My name is Melody Meek, and I am coming to you today solo with an inspiration for all the moms out there. It's Mother's Day week, and you've been in or around church long enough during your motherhood, so I'm sure you've heard the woman mentioned in Proverbs 31 before. In this chapter in the Bible, we read the sayings of King Lemuel, inspired utterance that his mother taught him, words of wisdom such as what we find in verse 8 and 9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. We can all agree that this mom had some knowledge that she passed down to her son. But as we read on in Proverbs 31, this mom seems to set the standard of being a woman, a wife and a mother so high it is impossible to compete with. One time I heard a group of women talking about the Proverbs 31 woman, and they were saying out of frustration, well, you want to know where this amazing Proverbs 31 woman is now? Dead, that's where. As funny as that does sound, the Proverbs 31 woman is not dead. She is you. God has called you to be the best version you can be. And even though in this podcast we've been speaking on the power of praying over our children, there comes a few days where you need to be praying over yourself as a parent, in this case, a mother. Becoming a Proverbs 31 woman is not about being perfect. I'm a perfectionist by nature, and sometimes this is really hard for me on a day-to-day basis to get that through my head, that I do not have to be a perfect mom. I do not have to be a perfect wife. I do not have to be a perfect caregiver of the home, provider for my family, for my household. It's about living life with purpose, diligence, forgiveness, and repentance. On today's special podcast episode for Mother's Day, we are going to look at the 10 qualities of the Proverbs 31 woman. You sit there and you think about your hectic morning, rushing about, trying to get the kids ready for school on time, and no one can find their shoes, much less get into a car without complaining, whining, and bickering. I feel like this happens to me all the time. The sink is full of dirty dishes again. It's like you get it done and then you have dishes again. The laundry is overflowing again, even though the clothes are all clean. They remain in heaps of mounds on your floor or dresser because between homework with your children, extracurricular activities, meal prepping, and everything else, you can't seem to find the time, right? So how in the world could you ever become a Proverbs 31 woman? Believe me, I have asked myself this many, many times. It seems impossible. But I do have good news for you. Becoming a Proverbs 31 woman isn't as hard as you think. In fact, Proverbs 31 is not a checklist or a to-do list. Instead, it's a beautiful representation of what it means to be a virtuous woman. I am a checklist, to-do list queen. I honestly wish I wasn't a lot of times, but it's in my nature to be that way. I can't function without it. And I promise you, I will turn anything into a checklist. Not necessarily intentionally, it just happens naturally. I used to have a Netflix list of movies and shows I wanted to watch, and it built up to 250 movies and TV shows. And when I first started staying home, for whatever reason, it was almost like in the back of my brain that I had to do this like it was a to-do list. I had to watch everything on my Netflix list as if it was a to-do list. And it became more about checking it off my list as it was actually sitting down and enjoying the movie. And I know that sounds ridiculous, and probably a lot of people don't even relate to that, but I'm just being open and honest. That's how I am. That's how my brain starts to naturally go with anything, including Netflix. And it reached a point to where Christopher was like, babe, just delete your Netflix list, because if something is super important to you to watch, or the next time you have some free time and just want to relax, you're going to remember your top movie that you wanted to watch next. So there's no reason to have this to-do list in your Netflix account that builds up and makes you feel like you have to be watching TV all the time, because that's not healthy, and no one should be doing that anyways. So anyways, all that to say, it is so easy for me to do that. So this Proverbs 31 woman thing, it's so easy for me to do that there too. It becomes another to-do list for me. And that's something God has been teaching me, that this isn't a perfectionism thing. This isn't a to-do list thing. This is basically something to look up to be inspired by, and to really just go after the best version of what I was meant to be, the best Melody that I can be, who I was created to be. and that God is just basically calling the Proverbs 31 woman out of all of us. So the passage of Proverbs 31, it was written a long time ago. So when you read about how she holds the distaff and grabs the spindle with her fingers, you may feel like the words do not apply to your life in the 21st century. But I want to show you how we can break down the verses and how you can live out each verse in your own life. So number 1, faith. She loves Jesus with all of her heart. A virtuous woman serves God with all of her heart, mind, and soul. She seeks His will for her life and follows His ways. And you can find these references in the Bible: Proverbs 31:26, Proverbs 31:29 through 31, Matthew 22:37, John 14:15, and Psalms 119:15. So I want to encourage you to pray over yourself that God would continue to be the first love of your life. That is priority. Number 2, marriage. She is a faithful bride. A virtuous woman respects her husband. She does him good all the days of her life. She is trustworthy and she's a helpmeet. But first and foremost, she is the bride of Christ. You can find these references in Proverbs 31:11 through 12, Proverbs 31:23, Proverbs 31:28, 1 Peter 3, Ephesians 5, Genesis 2:18. So pray over yourself, asking God to continue to give you the strength to be there for your husband in ways that will give him strength. Side note to all the ladies listening right now, if you're not married, or maybe you lost your husband through some form of tragedy, such as death or divorce, just a reminder to you today, you do not need an earthly husband to be a virtuous woman. Number 3, mothering. She is a loving mother and her children call her blessed. A virtuous woman teaches her children the ways of her Father in heaven. She nurtures her children with the love of Christ, disciplines them with care and wisdom, and trains them in the way they should go. Proverbs 31:28, verse 26, Proverbs 22:6, Deuteronomy 6, Luke 18:16. So pray over yourself, asking God to help you love your children, especially on the days that you don't feel like it. I mean, those come often, don't they? Anyone else guilty of losing your cool in a time of chaos with your kids, like no matter their age? I know this is something that I am working on all the time. I try to teach my kids to take deep breaths and to calm themselves down. And first and foremost, I have to do that too, because if I don't calm down, then I'm like losing my cool and I'm not setting a good example for them. So that's something I'm always having to work on. It's in my nature actually to be a yeller. I was raised in a yelling home. And it's just I'm just a more extroverted person. I'm more loud and outgoing and just expressive by nature anyways. And so being raised in that environment and then also being in my personality just to be very expressive, it's very natural for me to be a yeller when I'm upset or angry. And that's something I hate and detest more than anything as a mom. And I'm actively always working on that. And so taking deep breaths has been a game changer, and I also pray, and I do it right in front of my kids, and I have seen them also do it sometimes, like they're starting to catch on to take deep breaths and pray when they're upset, so it's pretty cool. But anyway, so ask the Lord to help you to be someone who is quick to listen rather than quick to get angry. This is a prayer of mine every day. 4, health. She takes care of her physical, mental, and spiritual health. A virtuous woman cares for her body. She prepares healthy food for her family. Proverbs 31:14 through 15, Proverbs 31:17, 1 Corinthians 6:19, Genesis 1:29, and Daniel 1 and Leviticus 11 are all examples in the Bible of how a woman cares for herself, cares for her family. In this world today, where there's processed foods, and it's just more and more in our face and down our throats, you may be one who is overwhelmed with all the nutritional facts and you don't know where to start in helping your family eat healthy foods. Just pray and ask God to give you the wisdom to make the wise choices when you're grocery shopping and meal planning. And look for a group maybe at your church or in your community that can help you along with this journey. This is something that I've had to do myself. I became a binge eater and just stressed out and depressed and eating constantly throughout my marriage and before having kids. And my life was completely radically changed when a coworker of mine introduced me to a healthy eating lifestyle called Trim Healthy Mama. And this is not a plug for that at all. I just want you to know, like, I've been there, done that. I relate when it comes to health. I was physically, mentally, and even spiritually not healthy in that point in my life. And I thank God every day for sending that coworker to tell me about Trim Healthy Mama, which for me has been the changing point for me. And it's still something I continuously have to choose, health over comfort. And yes, there is comfort in eating, and you can eat amazing foods for you that are so comforting, but it's all about motivation there. Like, you can enjoy food, we were created for that, but should we be numbing our pain and our emotions, our mental state with food? No, we shouldn't be. We should be turning to God instead. And that is something that I've had to learn. And even though I lost all the weight I had gained, and for the most part I eat a very healthy lifestyle, there are still times where if I'm going through just a little extra stressful time, I tend to go back to that point to where I want to eat that again. But it's just, I have the tools now, I know what to do, and I choose God over emotionally eating. And that is a day-to-day process for me, but I'm so grateful that He gave me the tools to do it. So I just want to encourage you, like, find a community or friends who want to be on that same journey with you, can encourage and lift you up in your health journey, but not only in your physical health, but also in your mental and your spiritual health. I mean, small groups, just going to church in general, hanging out with godly friends, that is so beneficial for you. As a virtuous woman, that helps encourage you to continue that for yourself on your own journey and to pour that into your family. So I really just want to encourage you in that. That has been a game changer for me. Number 5, service. She serves others with love and kindness. A virtuous woman serves her husband, her family, her friends, and her neighbors with a gentle and loving spirit. She is charitable. Proverbs 31:12, Proverbs 31:15, Proverbs 31:20, and 1 Corinthians 13:13. So for me, God has been working on this for me for the past 11 years in my marriage and the past 5 years of parenthood, almost 6. Just really my whole life in general. I have always served to some capacity in my church and just in my school or whatever it may be. I have always served, but it doesn't come natural for me, and it's something that I say, or I wish I could say it gets easier, but it doesn't. It's something I have to work on constantly, and the older kids get, the more we need to serve them to help them to become successful. So in a parent aspect, it's hard always being needed and called on 24/7. It feels like I have young kids right now, 3 and 5, and it's draining, especially when you're trying to get things done. It's really hard to stop sometimes what you're doing to serve your family, to serve your kids. And as they get older, that's going to increase, I think, in a lot of ways, because we're there to help them grow and mature, learn how to be successful and efficient, and just teach them all those things. And a lot of that comes by example. There is a difference in helping and serving our families and just plain doing the work alone for them. Obviously, that's not good. If you just do it for them, they're not learning anything. But the best way to teach them is to have them at your side, training them, raising them up to become a servant too. This is something that, as a perfectionist, I don't naturally do. I tend to want to do it myself, get it done, get the dishes done, put the laundry up. I do make my kids put their own clothes away, but I still have a certain way I want to fold the towels, and it's hard for me to sometimes release that and let them help me. But I know that's something that is really beneficial, especially when it comes to folding towels or cooking. If they are alongside me helping, they are learning, they're growing, they're learning how to do it themselves, but they're seeing me set an example of, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for you. All in all, it's just a beautiful balance of things. So that is something I'm working on, to invite my kids to my side, to train them and raise them up to become a servant too. So why don't you pray and ask God to help you highlight ways that you can not only serve your family, but also make the work fun by showing your family how to best serve each other and others outside of your family. Number 6 is stewardship. She is a wise steward of the gifts God has given her. A virtuous woman spends money wisely. She is careful to purchase quality items which her family needs. This is referenced in Proverbs 31:14, verse 16, verse 18, 1 Timothy 6:10, Ephesians 5:23, Deuteronomy 14:22, and Numbers 18:26. So if overspending money in different areas of your life is a habit for you, then ask the Lord for self-control. Ask Him to help you set the example for your children to follow what it means to work hard for your money, tithe first, save second, and then spend it last. We're actually teaching our children this very principle, even at the ages of 3 and 5. When Christopher and I first got together, we started reading the Dave Ramsey book, and I forget the title, forgive me, but it's by Dave Ramsey. It's extremely popular, and it's about financial freedom, getting out of debt. We didn't have much debts, but even just things like paying off our car and working towards paying off your mortgage and stuff like that. It goes into all of that, and it's just incredible the way you can see this happen for your life and get out of all debt and live with a cash envelope system. Christopher and I personally don't like holding on to legit cash, just in case anything were to happen to it, you were to lose it, misplace it, it be stolen or whatever it be. So we actually have a digital app on our phone called Good Budget, and it's a little envelope. And basically you're able to create these envelopes in the app and have them for certain categories, and you're able to budget and all of that. And that has been very helpful in our marriage. And we continue to use that, and we'll always continue to use that. So, but Dave Ramsey also has I believe it's called Financial Peace Junior, and it's basically like a kit that you can buy from either Amazon or his website that you can order for your kids, and it comes with a chore chart, a magnetic chore chart. It's really nice. It comes with 3 envelopes, zipper envelopes, and one of them is for giving, the other one's for saving, and the other one's for spending. And basically, it also comes with like a workbook, and it's age appropriate for different ages. So there's like coloring pages for like the younger kids, and then there's like stories and like math problems to help you teach your kids like the importance of tithing and figuring out their 10% and blah, blah, blah. So we ordered that for our kids, and they each have their own chore chart. They each have their own envelopes. And it comes with these magnetic things that you can put on the chore chart, and it has different chores that you can choose from, and you put it on there. And so we have that, and every week, throughout the week, we give check marks where our kids have accomplished certain chores. And now some chores are kind of like you do this because you're part of this family, and that's part of your responsibility of keeping this family going, and cleaning your bedroom and stuff like that. But then there's other chores that you can do where you actually pay money for it. And so right now, with our kids being 3 and 5, we just do 5 cents a chore. And so they get a nickel for every check mark that they get on their chore chart. And at the end of the week, we divvy out their nickels, and right now we're just doing equal parts, where a third of it goes into their giving envelope, a third of it goes into their saving envelope, and a third of it goes into their spending. As they get older and they're becoming more aware of math, we'll start teaching them how they can figure out their 10% for the giving envelope and go from there. And so anyways, it's a really neat thing. The kids have loved it. And at the end of the month, we get all of their giving money. We put it in a Ziploc baggie with their name on it, and they take it to church that following Sunday, and they put it themselves in the offering bucket. And that's already teaching them the importance of giving the money back to God, because it's God's money to begin with. It's not ours. And so they're giving that money to God. And then the saving envelope, we take all that and we empty it out into their piggy bank. Well, their piggy banks have over time gotten full, so we have gone to our bank and opened them up a separate savings account with their name on it. And whenever their piggy bank gets completely full of all their nickels or anything else that's in there, then we go and we deposit it into their actual bank account. So both of our kids have a savings account now. And then the spending envelope we take them to either Dollar Tree or Dollar General or Walmart, depending on how much money is in there, and they're able to spend that right then and there as a reward at the end of the month for them. And they have been loving this, and it has been teaching them to be good stewards of their money. And so anyways, that's just an example of what we have done. It's been really great to see how our kids get so excited about contributing and to the family and to doing chores. And they do know that sometimes they don't always get a check mark for doing something on their chore chart, but because that's just part of their responsibility. But the other stuff they do, and they get really excited about it. Okay, so number 7 is industry. She is industrious and works with willing hands. A virtuous woman works willingly with her hands, and she sings praises to God and does not grumble while completing her tasks. This is referenced in Proverbs 31:13, verse 16, verse 24, verse 31, and then Philippians 2:14. So, woman or not, as human beings, we are all guilty of grumbling and complaining when doing work. I know for sure this is me. Sometimes it's so hard, especially as a stay-at-home mom. I'm home all day, and if my son's with me all day, the house just continuously gets dirty, and especially on weekends, it's constant. And I am a naturally clean person. I am a perfectionist. Something that I've tried to really get a grip on to not let it rule my life. But I am naturally a perfectionist. So anyways, all that to say, it's really easy for me to clean something in the house and then the kids get it dirty, or even just the natural things that happen, like when you eat lunch, you're going to have dishes to put away, or you have to wipe down the table and vacuum underneath it, and stuff like that can start to really get under my skin. And it's internally I get in a bad mood, I start grumbling to myself, and it's just almost like you can't wait for the day that kids aren't going to be messy anymore. And God has really convicted me of that numerous times and reminded me that my kids are here for a short season of their life and even of my life. And for me to even think about, I can't wait for them to be old enough to where they're not making as much messes, means that I'm literally wishing my kids' life away, which grieves me to think about. And that is not at all what I want to do. And one day I read something on Facebook that talks about, instead of complaining about having to clean the house, I should actually be thankful and feel blessed that I have a house to clean, and that I have a family whose clothes I'm having to do laundry for, and a family who I'm having to prepare meals for. I have such incredible blessings in my life. The fact that I have a roof over my head and a family to call mine, that, it just makes me so teary-eyed just even talking about it, because it's such a good reminder of, if I did not have these beautiful blessings in my life, then yeah, I wouldn't have a house that I have to clean, and I wouldn't have laundry I'd constantly have to do, except maybe my own and maybe my husband's. But I don't want that life. That's a lonelier life. My life is filled with so much joy and happiness because of my kids and my husband, and I'm so blessed by the house that we have. And I'm just, I'm so grateful, because there are people who have way less or have nothing at all. And so it's such a good reminder for us. So how about we ask God to help shift our perspective when it comes to certain tasks that you normally do not enjoy doing. So instead of complaining that you have to clean the house, you can thank God that you actually have a house to clean. Instead of complaining that you have to make dinner, again, you can thank God that you have food to eat. And also, I have found that playing worship music while doing these mundane chores that are not usually fun really helps keep the atmosphere and my attitude in check. It helps my kids. It helps me. It helps our home feel more at peace. I generally, most days, have worship music playing all day long. If I'm at the house, it is playing. This really sets the tone and sets the atmosphere for my home. and it really helps me stay in a worshipful attitude, and I'm able to be more thankful for my blessings and grumble less when I'm staying in that worshipful attitude. So there's just a tip there for you. Just something to think about is having that worship music playing. Another thing that I also like to do is put in my headphones and listen to a podcast. I have multiple podcasts that I listen to. I have a worship podcast I listen to. It's for like worship leaders and anybody who just loves to worship in general. I have multiple parenting podcasts I listen to. I have my Trim Healthy Mama Health lifestyle eating podcast I listen to. Just all these uplifting podcasts that I listen to that really encourage me, lift me up, and help me keep going. And so most of the time, all those podcasts pretty much all upload on Wednesdays. And so Wednesdays, like as I'm doing my chores around the house, as I'm doing whatever needs to be done, I am listening to those podcasts. And it is so encouraging, so inspiring, and I'm so grateful for it. All right, so number 8 is homemaking. She is a good manager of her home. A virtuous woman is a homemaker. She creates an inviting atmosphere of warmth and love for her family and guests. She uses hospitality to minister to those around her. This is referenced in Proverbs 31:15, verses 20 through 22, verses 27, Titus 2:5, 1 Peter 4:9, and Hebrews 13:2. This is something I actually love. I love hosting. I love having people in my home for home groups. I love having game nights. I just love having people over and being hospitable and just, having fellowship together. So maybe just pray over yourself this week and ask the Lord to show you how you can be better at preparing a house that is a home, a place of peace, a place of rest for your family, for friends, for people that you invite in your home, a place where God's presence abides. This is your safe place. You want your husband to walk in your home every day and him feel so at peace and not so anxious. That is something a dear friend of mine who is somebody I look up to, who was mentoring me and counseling me in certain areas. That's something she spoke in my life about was make your home. You're the keeper of your home. You're the person who sets that atmosphere. So when your husband comes home and he's had a stressful day or it's been a long day, let that home be his place of peace and rest. And also for your children. They come home from school and they're wired and they're anxious and they've been, working hard all day. Let that be a place of peace and rest for them and a place of joy. I don't want my home to be a home that is just anxious and yelling and constantly getting on to my kids, telling them they need to do something or, I don't want that. And it's very easy for me to slip into those habits of, in that perfectionist nature of mine, to get on to my daughter or my son and be like, you need to do this, and how come you're not doing this quick enough? And it's so easy for me to do that. And God has really been speaking to me lately about being a mom and a wife who is so encouraging and uplifting and listens to my children and just goes over to them randomly and loves on them and tells them how much I love them, and I don't have an agenda. I don't have anything to tell them, I need you to do this. I'm actually being intentional about just pouring love on them, embracing them, having them feel that peace, that warmth, that comfort there in our home. I want it to be a place they enjoy being in. I want me to be someone that they feel at peace with as well. So just pray that over yourself this week and ask the Lord to show you how you can do that for your own home, for the atmosphere of your home that you set. Number 9 is time. She spends her time on that which is good. A virtuous woman uses her time wisely. She works diligently to complete her daily tasks. She does not spend time dwelling on those things that do not please the Lord. This is found in Proverbs 31:13, verse 19, verse 27, Ecclesiastes 3, Proverbs 16:9, and Philippians 4:8. So I know there are days where we feel like time just slips by our fingers and we cannot complete the things that we wanted to get done. My to-do list always feels like it is never ending and just carries over the next day, constantly, every day. But the Bible does explain to us that God holds time in His hands. So instead of us worrying about the time for each day, let's pray and commit each day in our time to the Lord. So last night in our discipleship class that we're doing, the Blessed Life, we actually talked about this, how just being a giver of our time is very fruitful, just as much as a giver of our finances and our gifts and talents. And one of the ladies in our group spoke out and talked about how she has been getting up for a while now at 5:30 and having quiet time for about 30 minutes before starting her day. And she said this past week, God has really been speaking to her about getting up at 5 o'clock. And so she's been getting up at 5 o'clock and doing that and having an hour of time with God. And she was so just like excited, because she was like, I have had more time to get things done between home and work. I feel like everything has doubled. Like the amount of things that I normally would get done has doubled. And it's just because I have been setting forth that time first thing in the morning to have with God. And it has literally increased her time. And I looked at her and I was like, yes, I have found that to be the same thing for me in my life every time. I feel like everybody and their spiritual life, their quality time with the Lord ebbs and flows. Life gets busy. No one, I mean, personally, I just don't know anybody who consistently has never, ever, missed a day or with God, or, like, I feel like we all have those times. Well, I'm kind of in the season right now where God is like, okay, Melody, you need to be giving your first time to me. And I'm like, yes, Lord, I know I need to. It's fallen on the wayside. I need to get back on that. And every time in the past that I have always found that I'm more motivated. I get more things done in the day. It's like my to-do list just gets marked off quickly. But the days that I'm dragging my feet, I don't end up having quiet time with the Lord, and I'm trying to get my list done, I get maybe one thing done. It's not worth it. I don't know why I ever think that I'm going to get to God later in my day, because a lot of times if I put him off till later so I can get started on other things, I don't even end up getting to God. And as far as like spending time in his word, I'm always worshiping, I'm always praying throughout the day, but actually sitting down and dedicating time for his word and just, listening to him, that doesn't always get done. And so I was really encouraged last night hearing this woman speak about that last night, and just hearing from her that it happened for her too. It's like God supernaturally, it expands that time for you in your day, and you get so much more done because you dedicate first your time to him, and you spend your time with him before you're willing to do anything else. So I challenge you, do the same thing. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be getting up before my kids, and I'm going to be spending time with God first thing, because I have seen the fruit of that in past times, and I know it needs to be done again. So I want to just challenge you in that. It is incredible, and you will see a huge difference. Okay, lastly, number 10 is beauty. She is creative and embraces beauty and godliness. A virtuous woman is a woman of worth and beauty. She has the inner beauty that only comes from Christ. She uses her creativity and sense of style to create beauty in her life and the lives of her loved ones. This is found in Proverbs 31:10, verses 21 through 22, verses 24 through 25, Isaiah 61:10, 1 Timothy 2:9, and 1 Peter 3:1 through 6. So this part of the Bible is not necessarily talking about the outward beauty of what we proclaim beauty is in this day and age, with magazines, TV shows, and movies that project an impossible image for a natural woman to maintain. Especially like with Instagram and filters, like none of that is natural beauty. Yes, we do need to be eating healthy, to exercise and keep our body as healthy as we can, because the Bible states that our bodies belong to the Lord and we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. However, beauty doesn't always have to do with looks. The beauty in your life can come from the creativity God is giving you, your smile, your personality, all those areas. Remember, God has uniquely designed you. So why don't you pray and ask the Lord this week to help highlight areas of your life where your beauty can be shown more and more, which reflects his beauty. Everywhere you go, You are a light to people who are bound in darkness. You are a light in this dark world. Just your smile can immediately change somebody else's attitude, and a smile can break through on them when they were feeling so down and depressed or angry or whatever it is. It changes things. A kind word, a compliment, just showing God's love to people. That is true inner beauty. And that is something that I'm always challenged by God to do everywhere I go. I know that I may be running into people and I may be the only God-like person that they ever run into that day. I may be the only Christ-like person, the only Jesus that they will ever see that day. And so I'm always asking the Holy Spirit, please show me how I can minister or be a light into somebody else's life that I encountered today. Whether I'm in Walmart and I see a person down the aisle and I challenge the Holy Spirit to do this for me. I want him to say, go and tell this person this, this, and this. I want him to do that, because if I can minister and pour into someone's life, a stranger that I don't even know, and it be the very life-changing thing that they needed to hear for that point in time in their life, I want to be obedient. I want to be that light. I want to be that love and that beauty of God, of Christ, that they can see that day, and it can be a changing point for them. I have been asking him for that. I've been asking him, Holy Spirit, stop me in my tracks wherever I am and have me be a light to somebody. Have me serve them in some way, to encourage and build them up in some way, to invite them to our church if they need a church, to give money to that person on the corner who really is desperately in need of it. Like, help me to not stay in my selfish corner and to myself and just go about my day, but help me actually hear from you and be stopped in what I'm doing. And I want to act in obedience, and I want to do that for him. I want to increase his kingdom and bring him all the glory just through my beautiful acts of love to others. So I want to encourage you, ask God to show you how you can do that too. Maybe it's coworkers that you're around. Maybe it's your children, your husband. Maybe it's your church family. Maybe it's your neighbor. Ask God how you can show God's beauty and love to them this week or even today. So as you're beginning to see how you can apply these verses to your life, I hope that it becomes so alive to you. Go over Proverbs 31 today. Go read it. Get inspired again. Re-listen to this podcast maybe later on in the future, just to remind yourself how we can be a Proverbs 31 woman, because God's word is alive and it's meant for every single person today. And we are able to apply these principles to our life now and not just think that these are archaic beliefs or things to follow as a woman. They're not. As you can see, there was 10 amazing attributes and principles that we were able to pull out of this as a mom, as a praying parent, as a wife, and as a woman. So I just want to encourage you with that today. I do want to give special thanks to Melissa Ringstaff and avirtuouswoman.org for today's inspiring information. And I do want to wish a happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And remember, you'll never become a perfect parent, but you can become a praying parent. And sometimes that means that you need to pray over yourself, mama. You need to pray over yourself. Pray Proverbs 31 attributes over yourself. And in turn, you will become an amazing wife and mother and just woman of God. Love y'all. Thank y'all for listening, and we will see you next time.